What is up? How are you doing? Guys, I'm back today. I'm going to do another quick review. I always say quick. I don't know if they end up being quick. I mean, you can look at how long it is down below. Be sure to follow me on social media. I'm going to post it right here. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. So let me know what you think. Today I'm going to do, as I said, another theatre review. And today I'm going to be reviewing one show, two parts. That is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Is that part one? Part one. And part two. Let's get into it. I'm going to try my very best to not spoil it. I saw Harry Potter and the Cursed Child like give or take 2 weeks ago. I'm going to do my very best to not do any spoilers. I don't think it's fair to spoil the show in any way, shape or form, which might make this review like a little bit short, but I'll do my best. I saw this review, I saw the show from, first off, I booked the tickets months ago, sorry. I won the lottery, the initial lottery to purchase tickets. But obviously when you win the lottery, there's no guarantee you're going to get tickets. But it just so happened that whatever dates I put in for, I managed to get 2 tickets for both parts the same day. So it's part 1 and part 2 on a Sunday. I went in knowing zilch. I had not read any of the reviews. I had not read any of the script that was put out like 2 years ago for the show. I was a fan of Harry Potter. I read all the books once through and I've seen the movies several times. So I knew the backstory going in. It did not prepare me for what I was about to experience. The show takes place, I think, it's around 10 years after Harry Potter, and it's basically Harry Potter's son going to Hogwarts. That's not going to spoil anything, I hope not. The stagecraft in this show, oh my goodness. The way they do this show, I have never seen theater stage magic to this extent. Like, I've seen several shows where there is stage magic, but the magic they do for this show on stage will literally blow your mind. Like to the point where as we watch the show, when a big trick happened and people's minds are blown, there was like this initial like second of silence, and then it was just like people were just in awe and like in shock, and then it was like uproaring and clapping and cheering for the tricks because the magics were just genuinely that good. Like, without spoiling anything, like think about like the main magic tricks that you would have seen or spells cast during Harry Potter's life at Hogwarts. Think of them, and then probably all of them are like done on stage at one point during the show, if not twice during the show. That's a lot of magic, and that's a lot of stagecraft, and that's I can't even comprehend what I saw. I know I probably sound like stupid, but like I'm doing my very best to like not spoil anything because it's not fair of me to spoil anything. But the staging is just phenomenal. Obviously with the Lyric Theatre on Broadway, they essentially installed like a cocoon of a theatre inside the old Lyric Theatre, which was a massive theatre, and I've seen 2 productions there. I saw Spider-Man, and I also saw Cirque du Soleil Paramore there, but they've essentially installed like a cocoon into the theatre, which makes the theatre a lot more intimate, and it makes it perfect for this play, because even like I was in the second to last row of the balcony and I had no issues seeing like what was going on stage. And I've read in the past, not read, like I'd heard people saying that the balcony seats, particularly at the back of the Lyric Theatre, were bad because you couldn't even see their facial expressions. I had no issues with the facial expressions. I literally sat there for 5 hours, well, two and a half, give or take, in awe of what was going on stage in front of me. As I'm filming this, I'm kind of like realizing this is going to end up just sounding like a love letter to Harry Potter, because that's kind of what it is. Interestingly, Harry Potter got nominated for Best Choreography at the Tony Awards, and you're kind of like, what the heck? But it's a play. But when you see the show, there actually is a lot of choreography in the show. There's a lot of parts of the show where there's several cast members on stage, not necessarily doing a dance, but they're doing movement to music. I didn't love, on the topic of music, I didn't actually love, that's maybe one of the things I didn't love about the show, is the music I didn't feel appropriately matched the mood and atmosphere of the show. I felt like the music was a little bit, and I could very much be in the minority here, but I felt like the music was just a little bit too modern or geared towards this era, as opposed to fitting the atmosphere and style of this show. I don't feel like it fit the magical world, if that makes sense. But that would be my only quarrel with the show. Not that there's music, it's not like a musical with singing and dancing, there is movement, but it's not like a musical. But what this play does have is has lots of points of music which heightens the mood at times, but overall I didn't feel like the music really appropriately matched what was happening on stage. The cast for this show is huge. I think it's like roughly like 40 cast members or something like that. It's like a very big cast, and I love how they adequately used the cast in several different roles throughout the show. Like the cast members played often more than one role, which is very, very well done. And do not read the cast list before you see the show, because it will spoil. I didn't. I remember hearing someone say, do not look at the cast list, but they obviously give it to you at the start of the show. But it does say during the show, or on the cast list, to not read the cast list if you don't want things to be spoiled. And I'd highly recommend you not do that, because you will have things be spoiled, and parts of the main shock factors in this production are some of the casts, some of the characters that pop up here and there throughout the show. I wish I could say names, but I really can't. I don't want to, because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. I just want people to go and like witness this production in all of its glory. It's going to be a production that's very hard to tour, and I can't see it ever touring, like going on a UK tour, going on a national tour around the States. But it has to have a solid like sit-down production where they can adequately create the stage for this production, because there's so much magic and things happening on stage that could not be done if the show is touring around, and has to be made smaller, if that makes sense. I really did love this production throughout. Only another kind of issue, I don't say another issue, maybe something I didn't love was that I did find the story started to drag and get a little bit boring toward like middle of the way through the second act of part 2. I kind of sat there, and maybe it's because I'd been in the theatre at this stage for over 5 hours, not continuously, because you get a break. You see part 1, which is like 2 hours 45, 2 hours 30 minutes, you get a 2-hour break, then you see part 2, which is again 2 hours 30 minutes, 2 hours 45 minutes. So it's a long day in the theatre, or you can also do it over different days. But I think by the point where I got to middle way through the second act of part 2, I very much found my concentration was waning. I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on stage. I was almost kind of wishing for it to end soon, because it was just, there was parts of the act that I just really thought they were dragging out for the sake of making the second act long enough for a 2-part show. And I love how it's 2 parts, I do, but I just don't think there was enough going on in the second act, which is kind of disappointing, because part 1 was fantastic. It's so good, and then part 2 up until the end of the first act was also fantastic, but then towards the middle of the second act I was like, I'm getting a little bit bored right now. So to wrap it all up, and I really think I did a good job of like not trying to spoil anything, but to like let you know how much I enjoyed the show. I thought it was fantastic. I really do. If you can get tickets, go see the show. I know it's like really selling fantastic, and it's very difficult to get tickets, but just like there's options out there. You can enter the Friday 40, which is like there's a certain amount of tickets released every Friday. I mean, try and see the parts, and like, I mean, try and get a ticket to the show at least like part 1 week, and then if you can, maybe a couple of weeks later. Just do your best to see the show, because it really is a theatrical feast, and it's one of the best plays I've seen, if not probably the best production. I used to say Hello Dolly was my favorite production I've ever seen, but I genuinely think that Harry Potter is like taking the biscuit here. It's just that good. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review. I always say quick review, I don't know how quick they are, but I guess I'll know when I edit this. But be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.